Well, that time has finally come. What very well may be the final Berserk chapter, or at the very least, the final chapter worked on by Kentaro Miura himself. It has finally arrived. The day that the chapter dropped, I did do a live reaction to the chapter, reading it for the first time, and I will share that link down in the description if you'd like to read along with me. I had over 1,000 people in that stream, which is unprecedented for me, and I absolutely appreciate everybody that decided to stop by. I've said it many times before, but Berserk is truly a masterpiece of a series, and I'm talking about beyond the world of just manga, but just in fiction and literature in general. The way Miura can convey the deepest parts of the human condition and translate that feeling of pain, trauma, regret, ambition, loyalty, and love, and encompass it within an exciting dark fantasy story filled with demons, sword fighting, and plenty of comedy, and pull it all together to a point where we have a literal world-destroying events that are at play at the moment, yet 99% of the fandom just wants our main character to be able to be happy and perhaps put down the sword for once in his life. Along with gorgeous artwork, it is a true testament to a master of the craft and a brilliant storyteller. As for me, my channel would not be what it is without Berserk, because I just needed some outlet to talk about it. YouTube was my go-to thing, and I'm internally grateful that you guys have enjoyed my takes and analysis on the series. And I figured, as this chapter being the only outlier of the entire story from my manga analysis series, that it deserved to be included, even though I've never done one just for a single chapter. But there are actually a lot of things to talk about with this one. Before I get into it though, I do want to shout out a Patreon supporter of mine, Maguire, who wrote and recorded the song that was inspired by Berserk called Struggler, clearly named after Guts himself, and I'm going to play a little bit of it here for you.
Tragedy struck me once again. My memories, they all start to blend. He's taken a part of my once whole friend. I can't fall asleep, I gotta fight till the end. My days are short and my nights are long, seeking revenge even though I know it's wrong. Something to live for all along. She keeps me living and she keeps me strong.
If you like what you heard, go and check out the video down below. It is linked in the description. Go to the video itself and leave a like. The link will be down there. I'd really appreciate it. I always want to help out the people that support me and support them back. Put it on your playlist for when you go back through and read the entire Berserk series over again, because you know that you're going to. Also give this video a like and a comment and say Ryan sent you. I'd appreciate it. Thank you guys. Now, with 364 in general, this is an extremely wholesome chapter. However, there are some concerning things going on that I want to point out. But going in order, the first thing that we see happening is the Moonlight Boy, who is now on the island jumping onto Guts' shoulders, and Gus bringing him back to the hut where the rest of the crew is. Except for Roderick, who is notably missing from this chapter. He's probably off being a Chad somewhere. Frickin' Roderick, he's so great. The small misdirect of Shirake thinking the boy might have been a form of Danan keeping an eye on them before they arrived at the island is of course debunked by Danan herself, as she shows up in the hut as well, leaving the group's only knowledge of the boy being that they know that it loves to be around Casca. So Guts asks the others to take him to her. A kind gesture on the surface, yes, but also very sad when you think about it, because it's the fact that Guts can't take the boy to see Casca himself. They are unable to see one another still without Casca having a traumatic flashback, so we still have this sense of distance and longing, which is actually another theme of the chapter. We also have the theme of family, as Danan mentions that the group has been accepted by the others, and how this ragtag team of misfits has become so close that you can, for all intents and purposes, call them a family, hitting the nail on the head even further with the actual Moonlight Boy and Casca, and how she is delighted to see him and remembers him from her time in the Elaine state. Now, this is the first time the restored Casca has seen the boy, and I was assuming that she would instinctively know that the boy was her child, and I still think deep down she does, but logically there's no way to justify it on the surface, so she doesn't come right out and suggest it. Only her subconscious reminds her a little bit later in the chapter. but this image of the boy and Casca snuggling up together is absolutely beautiful, and when you remember that this is the piece of her heart that she was protecting so deeply within the dreamscape, and here he is safely in her arms. Next, we get a series of wholesome pages. When waking up the next day, we see that the boy is still here. And here's the interesting part. Apparently, time is moving quicker on the elf island, and the full moon is still outside of the island. And this is the opposite of what we've been told before, like with the Peikoff story, that within the elf dimension, time is still, and the outside world moves quicker. Well, here, apparently multiple days pass on the island, as only one night passes on the outside. At least I think that's how it's being explained, but then again, I failed math, and also I'm having bad flashbacks to the hyperbolic time chamber from DBZ, and how the hell did Piccolo communicate telepathically to Goten and Trunks when he was outside of the time chamber and they were inside? Because wouldn't it take multiple days for his thoughts to be heard? And I don't know, whatever, moving on. The wholesome activity is great, with them fishing and Casca running after the boy just to keep him safe. Kind of ironic, since for so long Farnese and the others were taking care of Casca, just as Casca is taking care of the boy now. But here's the concerning part for me, and it's with Guts. Since Guts can't be around Casca, he goes off to train by himself, and as he's swinging his sword, the sword flies out of his hands. He loses his grip on it, and this is major. This is a huge red flag. We also see his vision being blurred once again, and it all comes back to the Berserker armor. The Berserker armor is an amazing tool and power-up, but I imagine it's only meant for desperate and extreme situations. The continued use of the armor has been affecting Guts' senses. His taste and vision has been affected before, and now his motor senses and precision, and even being able to grip his sword. This is so scary and dangerous, and kind of like a drug, prompts more dependency on the Berserker armor. The more you use it, the more you need it, getting to the point where Guts is going to have to use it even to fight normally. I also find it funny how the boy shows up in the armor and starts to run away from it, which on the surface is super adorable, but I always said, remember when they first met the boy at the beach and it crawls up on Guts' shoulders and it starts tugging at his armor? I think the boy knows deep down that the armor is dangerous for Guts, and he was trying to take it off of him. And I think the boy running here is more than just a boy being cute running away with the armor, but a deeper consciousness and intelligence to the boy to get this harmful thing away from his father. Also, when it comes to Casca, she has a PTSD breakdown each time she saw Guts when Guts was wearing the armor, and the armor that reflects the wearer's darker tendencies. Being without the armor, or being vulnerable, might be the key to being able to see Casca again, but we aren't really sure. Then we get this extremely sad image of Guts telling the boy to go back with the others, as Guts hides behind a tree, unable to be with Casca and unable to take part in any of the wholesome activities. Guts, a man that has literally sacrificed his body, health, and everything to get Casca and the others someplace where they could be safe, can't even enjoy the safety and security with the others, but instead must suffer in silence. Then we get to see the finale of the chapter. As another night goes by, Casca begins to reflect on the feelings she's getting from the child, and has a flashback to the demon baby as it protected her in the Conviction arc, finally putting two and two together that the demon baby is now this boy. But the boy has left her bedside and ran outside, and as Casca rushes after it, and as the boy makes its way just past Guts, perhaps the biggest reveal for our characters ever happens, and leaves us with the mother of all cliffhangers. The Moonlight Boy transforms back into Griffith, and the final panel by Miura features an image of Griffith in tears. And the fact that Miura was able to give us this moment, the first reunion of Guts and Griffith in 20 years since the Hill of Swords, there's something very sad and poetic about this image. And we have to go over it, so let's go over the Griffith tears here, and what do they mean? I feel the need to restate this before I begin, though, that my Berserk videos are my opinion and my opinion alone. This is how I am interpreting the story, and you are completely free to feel differently and interpret it a different way. That's perfectly fine and okay, but these are my videos, and I'm giving you my thoughts and my opinions. Okay. So Griffith mentions how on nights of the full moon, he has always had a dream of a small boy and that boy's longing for its parents. And when he wakes up, that feeling remains for a moment but slowly dissipates. This is like any of us when we have a dream. The first few moments after we wake up, we remember the dream very well and may even have leftover feelings from that dream. But after a few minutes, the dream starts to fade away and soon we don't remember it at all. Essentially, what this means is that each time the boy takes over the body, Griffith experiences what the boy does as if it were a dream. That strange out-of-body, going along with the flow feeling that we get while dreaming. Griffith getting his body back is like waking up from said dream. As such, while waking up and within those first few minutes, Griffith still feels what the boy felt, that sadness of having to leave its parents once again, that longing to be embraced by its mother. So yes, Griffith is crying, but not due to any sense of remorse or regret from Griffith himself. He has residual feelings of what the boy felt, and the boy's longing. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper into this. Remember the Hill of Swords moment. Griffith specifically came to see Guts to make sure his heart was successfully frozen. He discarded his humanity and embraced his darkness to become a God Hand. Even during the God Hand transformation, he was told that this was the final tear that he would ever shed. Seeing Guts again confirmed for Griffith that he was free, as he states. But, since the accidental fusing with the demon child, the child's heart and feelings were not frozen or discarded. They exist deep within Griffith. When Casca was in danger of the falling rocks, Griffith instinctively rescued her due to an influence of the baby's feelings. This is why immediately after, Griffith decided to leave the Hill of Swords. He recognized this weakness or this flaw within him and split before it could cause a serious problem, unaware at the time that the boy would take over his body during the full moons. So if you're asking, is Griffith capable of feeling? Yes, but those feelings are coming from the child, not from Griffith. And this makes the most sense and works the best because it's honestly very poetic irony. And it also gives more justification to the abuse and assault our characters had to go through at the eclipse, because if Griffith had not done what he did to Casca out of a sense of dominance, control, and spite, the fetus would have never became corrupted, meaning it would never have gotten demon baby powers, meaning it would never have been at the Tower of Conviction to be swallowed by the egg and fuse into Griffith's body. It was the very fact that Griffith acted upon his human darkness, and he screwed himself and potentially the entire plan of the God Hand over because of it. This puts meaning and satisfaction to an otherwise horrible and shock value ensuing scene. People talk about the violence and rape in Berserk, but I would argue that very rarely do you have a series that incorporates it in such a powerfully narrative way and actually takes it extremely seriously, having characters have ripple effects and repercussions from dealing with the events of rape and violence. It's not just something that happens, it's a world-destroying event that is the crux of what this series rode on. The eclipse, the assault of Casca, the demon baby, it's all tied together. Griffith face-to-face with Guts again in tears because of what has been forced upon him. As he forced himself on Casca, he must now deal with the weakness that he forced upon himself as a result. The question is how he will act with Guts and Casca right here in front of him, and it is a question that we may never know the answer to. I have made several assumptions. One, that he might want to take Casca back to Falconia with him so he knows where she's at all times, and that would mean it wouldn't risk him leaving the kingdom every single full moon when he transforms. Also, we have the wild card of the Skull Knight, who we know is still on the island somewhere, and how he will react to this knowledge or seeing a God Hand member right in front of him. And of course, what about Guts himself? Will he fly into a blind rage, or will this information of the child and Griffith being one stifle him where he's at? This is such a difficult predicament the characters are in right now in this cliffhanger, but if there's one thing that Berserk has taught us, it's that life is unpredictable. And instead of being mad that we might not have more chapters, maybe we should just be grateful that Miura gave us so much, and dedicated 30 years of his life delivering the best manga that he possibly could. And he absolutely